Olympic golf begins this week over in Paris. It starts on Thursday, so to get you set for the best golfers in the world in the hunt for a gold medal, Keith Stewart joins us here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid. Keith, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us here on the early line.
Ben, it's a pleasure to be with you. And the only place that's hotter than Paris right now is Read the Line. We just came off a double win Sunday. I had Johnny Vegas plus 8,000. He wins the 3M. And then later that night in Calgary, the ladies, Lauren Coughlin, first victory of her LPGA career. She finishes it up there in the Women's Canadian Open at plus 4,000. 120 to 1 on a Sunday. Let's roll into the gold medal talk. I'm ready.
80 to 1, 40 to 1. Let's hope to cash some big tickets this week over in France as well. Keith, let's start with the format. Only the third year that Olympic golf has really been back in our lives since the very early days of the Olympiad. 2016 in Rio de Janeiro, it was Justin Rose taking home gold. 2021 in Tokyo, it was Xander Schauffele's first major career event. Of course, two major championships this year during 2024. So what is the format of the Olympic golf on the men's side that we are going to see over in Paris?
Well, I'll tell you what, we haven't reinvented the wheel here. It's 4 days of individual stroke play. It is very similar to a PGA Tour event. Starts on Thursday. It's going to end on Sunday. It's 60 players, and it's actually very close to a PGA Tour event these days because it's a limited field with no cut. So they're going to get 4 days, and they're going to play for 3 places. And that's kind of the unique aspect of all of this, is that first place does get you gold. For a lot of these guys, though, just winning a medal would be a big deal. If you remember back in 2021 in Japan, there was a 7-way tie for the bronze medal. And CT Pan ended up winning. But in that playoff in Japan, you had Hideki, you had Colin Morikawa, you had Rory, you had Paul Casey, you had a bunch of names. And it's not often that you see a 7-man playoff for third place. So there is some uniqueness to the event this week.
Taking a look at the actual event itself, where it's being played, Keith, tell us a little bit about the event and also how this golf course plays into it and maybe some of the players that might benefit from this golf course.
Well, we are going to Le Golf National, which is a staple on the DP World Tour. Every fall, they play the Open de France there. It is the French Open, per se, as we would say over here. It is also the host of the 2018 Ryder Cup. Now, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in those matches or who played well there. The design of the golf course and the way that they set it up was to try to hamper the Americans from playing well. I mean, they grew the rough really high. They pinched a bunch of fairways. This is going to be set up much more like a DP World Tour event. I think that scoring will be prevalent. Over the last 5 years, the average winning score has been 12 to 13 under par in the Open de France. So people that have played in the French Open and are stalwarts over there on the DP World Tour are definitely folks that I'd be favoring, Donnie. We have 30 rookies in this event, and that's half the field, 4 of whom are the American players. Scottie, Xander, Colin, and Wyndham Clark have not played a competition here before.
Yeah, that 2018 Ryder Cup team for the United States did not feature Scottie Scheffler. Xander Schauffele just very closely missing out on points qualification, so it's new ground for them over at Le Golf National. So now let's look at the actual odds, Keith, and get those early leans here on the early line for Olympic golf. We had the conversation last week after the Open Championship. Who should be the PGA Tour golfer of the year? Is it Scottie Scheffler, his green jacket, his 6 PGA Tour victories this season? Or is it Xander Schauffele? 2 major championships and 2 other top 10s. We can see what the gold medal race looks like. Scheffler, the favorite, plus 360, but less than $2 behind. It's Xander Schauffele at a plus 550 price. Is it a 2-golfer race? Both coming from the American side.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would be worried about the lack of course experience there. There's 6 guys under 20 to 1, under plus 2,000, and 2 of whom are John Rahm, who's coming off, winning Live London. He has course experience there. He's been there a couple times. He's got 2 top 10s. And then there's another name, Rory McIlroy. He's been there a couple times, competed, and he has 2 top 5s. Of the other guys up there at the top, Colin Morikawa, Ludwig Aubert, they have not played this golf course before. The golf course is kind of quirky. It is very positional. It is one of those golf courses over here on the PGA Tour. They always pick a certain type of player. It is not one of those that features length over accuracy. It is the opposite of that. So I think that some of the superpowers of Scottie Scheffler are a little bit hindered. And if I'm picking one over the other, Xander over Scottie, for all the reasons that Xander won Royal Troon, you would have to think that Xander is the favorite here again. Do we live in a world where a guy's going to win 2 majors and defend his gold medal? Well, if there was one guy who could do it, it would definitely be the X-Man.
If we're looking at this tournament, Keith, and typically the international flavor usually adds to the excitement here. When you take a look at the Ryder Cup, the crowds are really into it. Is this more of like a PGA golf crowd, or is there going to be wild cheering with people rooting for their nation and or golfers at the same time?
I think it's going to be much more like a Ryder Cup or even a World Cup crowd. And, one of the big questions I have this week, DRS, is what is your motivation for winning a medal? For the guys over there, for Scottie, running around with Meredith, his wife, and his kid, and they're at the Louvre looking at the Mona Lisa. He's going to watch ping pong matches. I'm not quite sure what his motivation is. Sure, he wants to win a gold medal. But when you talk about a guy like Shane Lowry, who's got on the front of the boat and was the flag bearer for Ireland, or you're talking about Tom Kim, a person that's like facing, career question marks because he has mandatory military service coming up in South Korea. What is your motivation to win a medal? I think that's the biggest question you have to answer before building your betting card this week.
So, Keith, let's take some of those early leans here on the early line. What are some of the odds you are looking at and the players associated in the final minute of this segment?
I love Shane Lowry at plus 2,400. He won at Royal Portrush at in front of a home crowd, so he can handle that kind of pressure. I also love Tom Kim for the reasons I just outlined. How about a couple of bombs? You've got Victor Perez and Matthew Pavone playing at home. They're going to know the golf course better than anybody, and both of them are pushing triple digits as far as the odds go.
Yeah, it will be very exciting this week at Le Golf National over in the suburbs of Paris. Keith Stewart, as always, we appreciate the time here on this Tuesday on the early line on SportsGrid.